Welcome to another deep dive. James, you don't know this. Well, welcome, James Hobart. Welcome back, James Hobart, in a certain sense. Welcome, James Hobart, to deep dive for the first time. You don't know this, but the last time I went live, actually, I was supposed to have Greg Amundson on, and he pretty last minute was not able to come on. And I was like, I really want to do this kind of like comedy bit where there was like 15 minutes. There were a few people waiting to watch Greg. And I was like, I want to do it where like I go live and I'm just sitting here alone with a guitar and I play a classical music song. And then
can you play classical guitar?
Well, I can play guitar.
Oh,
I can't play what it looked like I played. And some people were duped. Some people actually in the comments were like, this guy's legit.
what?
But I do play guitar, not that well. But yeah, I was like, I want to play that. And then at the end, just say, Greg Amundson could not make it today. Please come back next week or whatever. So I kind of did that, but it was kind of I don't know, left a weird taste in my mouth. I'm glad like I'm back with a bona fide CrossFitter.
Yeah, like a variety show.
Yeah.
What kind of guitar do you have?
Well, the cool guitar I had was a Gibson Les Paul Studio, which is an electric guitar.
But you sold it.
I sold it.
Why?
I just don't play it that much anymore.
Yeah.
I have like a little Fender Parlor that's really small because I got it when I was really small. I didn't grow until I was like 16. And so it's this nice little, almost, it doesn't actually look like a ukulele, but you could meme it that way.
You're kind of a big guy though, right? Like how tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Oh, you're not. I thought you were taller than me. We met at the games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We chatted about this.
Yeah.
I remember you being taller than 5'9", or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just really freaking short.
Well, I recently learned that sometimes when I say 5'9", people be like, yeah, everybody's 5'9". I'm like,
yeah,
hey, that's so unfair. We're all thinking we're 5'9". You're casting doubt.
You're a legit 5'9". I'm like, I'm a fake 5'9" or 5'8" when someone hangs me upside down with weights tied to my head. Greg Amundson's the reason I started doing CrossFit, like seriously.
Really?
Yeah, there was so I had kind of like I don't know how people find CrossFit. Because I stumbled on it and it was sort of like, who are these dorks that act like they invented the push-up? And I think a lot of people back in the day had that feeling about CrossFit. And then I saw this video of Greg Amundson doing Heavy Fran. And I think it had a remix of Billy Squires' Stroke in it. I think that was the background music. The old CrossFit videos had like the jankiest music. It kind of reminded me of like early days like skate videos.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, which would make sense just the being in California where they were. But he was doing the Heavy Fran and he was just like shirtless and just jacked. And I was like, I want to look like that guy. And I immediately just was like fucking wholesale started doing CrossFit. And I still have never looked like him. But I've been giving it a good shot for the last 15 years, 18 years.
Yeah, he's incredible. The thumbnail for that one, I just had like a plethora. I was just like, let's just scroll, and it's just like beach photo after beach photo of him just looking amazing. Dude. And I just assume he's just doing Cindy all the time. That's like the workout I associate with him. And it's like, you just get that jack running and doing Cindy. I know that's not all he does, but
no,
those are my Greg Amundson workouts.
Yeah, and he used to have the CrossFit warm up. He used to do the CrossFit warm up video, which was one of my, I did that religiously, and yeah, I just remember that Heavy Fran. I wonder if I haven't done Heavy Fran in a long time. I should do that.
Is it at 135?
What's that?
Is it at 135?
It's at 135, and then you do like a weighted pull up, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I think I wish we could just like, is Savon in the back there? Could Savon post the video? I wish I could just like clip that video in.
Yeah,
I'd have to look. Greg Amundson does Heavy Fran, but so that's kind of like, and I remember meeting him. For me, it was like a really big deal. I was like, when Again Faster, the equipment company, was sponsoring athletes, and like he came in and was like a motivational speaker for us, and it was just really cool. That was a cool little piece of CrossFit history. That's kind of the excitement of being. I was thinking about like, because I actually didn't know what the hell we were going to talk about today. Oh, here we go.
Right.
Dude, this Heavy Fran 2. Here we go. This is it.
Oh, shoot. Wrong one?
No, this is it. I mean,
Okay.
I'm like, yeah.
This comes from desire.
Dude, look at the fucking... He's board short. He's barefoot, for God's sakes. Look, everything about this video is just perfect. Taking it out of the rack, like, and this was something where I just remember people used to do Flight Gone Bad, 65-pound barbell out of the rack. Oh yeah, 45-pound pull-up. And look at him just repping the 135 thrusters.
I'm gonna ask a sensitive question here. That's not the MO of the show either, so just know.
Yeah.
And this is more just from seeing his Instagram videos. I'm like, I highly doubt he's wearing underwear. I highly doubt he wears underwear when he works out.
I don't.
As in you're confident he does wear underwear?
I don't wear underwear, and I'm confident he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're working on board shorts,
doesn't.
like if you're working on board shorts, like if you're putting compression on under board shorts, you're a psychopath. That's an easy one. That's a super, super duper easy one. And yeah, of course I remember that. I did forgot the chat was going. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks, I like where your head's at. But look at him, just like, look at him, reverse grip, kipping, pull. Like, everything about this video is like why I wanted to start doing CrossFit. And also it's like everything about this video is why people probably criticize CrossFit and still do to no end. But at the same time, I don't care. Yeah, the underhand pull-up is so good.
Was that 21? Or is it
I think the reps might be a hair less, but it might have been 21.
Okay, because 45 thrusters at 135 sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. Look, you got Zach Pine in the back. It's just like I miss like a little bit of cheesiness to these videos, you know? Yeah, 15, 12, 9. There you go. So, but this was the video for me. I was like, I need to do that so I can look like Greg. Never did achieve looking like Greg, but glad I found it nonetheless. So
he's incredible. I don't know if I've ever done weighted kipping pull-ups.
Yeah, you probably. I mean, I think I hadn't even seen him until this video. And then there's another workout with Dave Lees. I think it's pronounced his name. And it was like 10 rounds. And it was something like, I don't know, maybe it was like 3 weighted pull-ups, 5 strict pull-ups, and then like 7 kipping pull-ups or something like that. That was like a workout that showed up a ton on CrossFit.com. Very, it's like a ridiculous amount of volume. And I think he did like a decent amount, if not all of his rounds on broken, which at that time was like a really cool accomplishment. It's super fun. I don't know why, yeah, this is a story I wanted to tell because I have no idea what the hell we're supposed to talk about, but I appreciate you inviting me here and like, I'm down for the cause. But I was listening to Taylor Self and debate with Harry Lightfoot and Colton Mertens. They were on Peter's podcast, Coffee Pods and Wads. They're doing like a debate. And Taylor said something about like, we should program classic CrossFit for something. And I was sort of like, what the hell does that mean, classic CrossFit? And this is coming from someone who's been around CrossFit. I've been around it a long time. Like, I get what he's getting at, but what do we mean when we say that? And the only reason I bring that up is
mixed modal. He was like, let's program less single modality at the games if we're doing 10 workouts. I think
that's kind of what I feel. But then just say but that's CrossFit. And what this got me thinking about, and then the Greg video, and now we're here, was just man, go take a look. If you really, if you have an epic social life like I do, go look at like CrossFit.com pre-2007. Maybe even go back all the way back to February 01 and just kind of like peruse through the workouts. And it's not necessarily to say like those are the Bible and that's exactly what you should do, but I think there's so much value in understanding like what we did then, what we did in between, what we do now, what's come back, what's come full circle, and why. I think it's like an interesting exercise as someone who's sort of like into their own fitness and programming and things like that. You'll learn a ton. It's just interesting to see. And I think like the couplets and triplets are really valuable, but man, I think we get too far away from. Tell me to shut up if you have something else you want to talk about, because I'm like super overtired and I'm going to be rambly. But the single modality stuff is CrossFit. And I think things like group classes are great and a 1 hour class is great. And I'm not advocating for a 90-minute class, but I was talking to another coach recently about like what kind of workouts are good class workouts. And I think to some extent, and CrossFit.com has always been a nice representation of what I am saying we should try to avoid in some cases. To some extent, the class structure can be can kind of encroach on the GPP goal. Now, somebody's going to clip that and be like, James Hobart hates CrossFit group classes. They're the most wonderful thing. And I think they get people very fit. But what I'm saying is, like, if you've been doing CrossFit for a long time and you haven't gone and run a 10K or tried some like long single effort, I think you're kind of missing out, and you should just give it a shot to see where you're at. So that was sort of my 2 cents. But anyway, I don't know why we got on that tangent.
No, well, you're a prophet. That's pretty much exactly what I wanted to talk about today. I have the same question for you and Chris Cooper, everybody who is coming on the show on Tuesday. I'll have Chris Cooper on Tuesday, but he had, and I'll actually play you this in a second. I kind of want to talk about like CrossFit dogma and their problems. Well, it's interesting. He used the word dogma 5 months ago on Sevon's show. You used the word dogma on the CrossFit podcast with Denise.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. Is she asked this great question of, I mean, the marketing of that podcast was you saying CrossFit is not the same. It is evolving and has evolved, and that's a good thing, and we can't go back. Yeah. But she had the question of like, what do we hold on from the old days? What do we hold on to, and what do we need to retain? Let me play this Chris Cooper bit, and then I'll riff for a second, and then let's just keep going down that road of like, what are the CrossFit non-negotiables? What is essence of CrossFit? If we had CrossFit in a jar, what would it be? What are there some comments? Any comments you want me to pull up?
No, I'm just kind of looking. I was just thinking about when you said essence of CrossFit. I was like, I wonder what that would taste and or smell like.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I had the perfume image. Okay. Okay. Chris Cooper video. Boom. Boom. It's like a 2-minute bit.
And even now, when I talked to him, he was telling me about the importance of just, you have to only be building what you want to lead. You can't be trying to market this thing.
That's great.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think people realize that's kind of the nature of this business. There's not wiggle room. I know you believe that there could be some evolution, but there's not, like, we're not going to be like, it's not going to be successful if we're like, okay, muscle ups are stupid, we're going to cut those out, and squatting below parallel isn't necessary, we're going to take that out of the L1, and all of a sudden we're going to double the number of affiliates. If that worked, then CrossFit's dead.
Well, I think there is room to evolve the method. I don't think the mission needs to evolve. The mission is more important than ever. The method could evolve, and it always was evolving because Greg's a scientist. When I started doing CrossFit, like, there were a lot of tire flips and sled pushes and parkour, and for one brief shining moment, there was virtual snow shoveling, right? Like, and the method was evolving because that's how science works.
Right.
But when Greg stepped aside, the method stopped evolving and became dogma. Boom. We don't do that because we're CrossFit. And when something stops evolving, any movement stops evolving, it stops growing. Ask the Catholic Church. You have to bring the evolution within, or you're going to have a revolution from outside. And, some of that is like looking for new perspectives, right? Like, we should talk to somebody like Peter Attia, but we should also be looking for who is the best running coach in the world today. And CrossFit still has enough cred and size that it can knock on that woman's door and be like, you are the best running coach in the world. Come and help CrossFit affiliates coach running. And you find the best weightlifter in the world and you knock on his door and you say, you are the best weightlifter in the world. You ever thought about working for CrossFit? And you do that and you bring in these internal experts, and that is what evolves the methodology.
Mm-hmm.
And the methodology is what helps us fulfill the mission, but the mission doesn't have to change.
So let's see, let's get that out of here. Some people, I think when he said that, didn't like the reference to the Catholic Church. I mean, to make no statements about the Catholic Church, but I think people have pointed out all these parallels between the church and CrossFit and its effect on people in terms of community and life impact and spiritual experience, meditative kind of states. I think he like hit the nail on the head with that comparison, in that you have a problem in the history of the church when Jesus dies. According to the Gospels, he's raised, he gives some more instructions, and then he ascends. And he's like, I'm going to send my spirit, but you guys got it from here. And it doesn't take long for stuff to get really funky and for there to be problems and conflict. Because now you have, when the whole thing is based around one guy, now you have the problem of, well, all 12 of us think, oh, I don't remember him saying that. I think he said this other thing. Or you're confronted with the reality of like, maybe you have some principles about how to treat people, love one another, love your enemy, whatever. But then you have like and forgiveness. Let's say forgiveness is this big principle. Well, somebody just stole from our community fund. What do we do with that person? Do we forgive them? Or is there some, like you're confronted with these very real situations and you're like, what do we do? And literally history wise, it doesn't take long for there to be big meetings where people are like, okay, like what is the central stuff where if you veer far enough from these core beliefs, you're just not Christian anymore. Same with that's my question with CrossFit is Chris makes that claim. Greg leaves, it becomes dogma. I don't think he's endorsing that. I think he's saying that's kind of what has happened. And so now you have these weird camps where you have like the old heads who are like, I don't pace like these new age people, like, and everything has to be like box jumps and burpees and like poor Olympic weightlifting form, but done real hard. And then you have like the new wave set. And then you have the new wave old school stuff. People like, I don't know, JR, I would put Taylor in this camp too, who do look back at that old main site stuff and go, or like, I think this was the effect of Boz on the games where he's like, hey, what we've thought of as old school pure CrossFit isn't actually old school. We just froze like 3 years of .com and said that was CrossFit, but it's not. You're missing 12 years before. So ending this ramble, just saying there's this huge like predicament, I feel like in CrossFit, which is the founder, the prophet left. What is it? Like when you go, what are the bounds where you go outside? You're not doing CrossFit anymore. And I mean, we have the documents. We have the What is CrossFit lecture that you referenced. We have Fitness in 100 Words, which work until you confront, until High Rocks comes along, until Zone 2 craze comes along, until the hybrid movement is booming in Austin, Texas. Like, and then it's like, okay, how much do we give into these communities and take? So, sorry, I just like dump, but I just think it's like a fascinating question. You answered that question. Denise asked you that question. You answered, you said functional movements at intensity. You said scalability. You said, well, like it's for anyone. Anybody can do it. Not going to be good at it. You're not right away. We're not going to move the goalpost for you, but you can come in and do it. What comes to mind? I'll give you a legit question, but anything sparked?
Yeah, I want to return to one thing. So just one thing I would say with Chris in that video is that he talks about enabling mission. I would actually say we're pulling these experts in the field to actualize the methodologies. And what I mean by that is like one of the reasons, you had Greg talking to the likes of Louis Simmons and who's the Texas Method fellow? I can't remember his name. Oh my goodness. Starting strength guy.
Oh, Mark Ripito.
You had Romanoff on the running side and, Brian McKenzie and, early on in CrossFit, you had Greg working with, although they eventually parted ways, but Mark Twight, who's a world renowned climber. And you had Greg stealing from these people so he could understand, how do I teach my athletes to do all of these different things and perform at them generally well, And I think that's why you look out to these experts and beg, borrow, and steal information from them. The other thing I don't think I mentioned this on the podcast with Denise, and I should have. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't. Maybe I did. But I think one of the core parts of CrossFit is that we are outcome based. And if you are improving with the goal of improving fitness, defined as work capacity across broad time modal domains, like what is your ability for task completion across a very diverse set of tasks? If you are seeing, we are outcome based in that if you are seeing improvements to that, we want to keep doing whatever the thing or things are that allow us to see improvements to our fitness. And so when I talk about dogma, I think one of the most amazing things Greg did is essentially he created a system that was outcome based. We had a well-defined outcome. We had ways that we could test it. And we had a lot of different dials that we could turn in order to improve or achieve this outcome. And he used to say this a lot. And I always really admired this because when I worked on seminar staff, I had the great fortune to travel around the world and see a lot of people doing CrossFit, there were slight differences. How often they tested benchmarks, how often they might lift heavy, how often they might do a long workout. I got to see these slight differences of the application and a lot of places where people were getting really fit. Now, what we always said is like, ultimately what we want is, you have these, 10,000, 15,000, affiliates, petri dishes of fitness all over the world. And we want to find the one which creates the most fitness, which gym has those athletes, who have the greatest work capacity across broad time modal domains. So when I talk about dogma, what my fear of dogma is if we stop becoming outcome focused. If our focus just becomes, well, we're not so concerned about what is creating fitness because we found the one single way. Mm-hmm. Because if we talk about this being outcome focused, that means there is, for a given population, an optimum amount of intensity, an optimum amount of variance, an optimum combination of the functional movements, that kind of stuff. So when I talk about dogma, that's what I worry about. It's like we just become focused on like the method rather than the outcome. And so
you did say that, by the way.
Oh,
in
good.
That podcast.
Good. Yeah. I worry that I didn't. And the other piece I'd probably add on there, and maybe I said this too or didn't say this, is I think something really unique to CrossFit is the interplay between technique and intensity. We are very focused, and despite some of the greatest criticisms, or I shouldn't say greatest, most constant criticisms lobbed at us, we are focused on you need to continually improve your technique while you chase greater intensity, right? We're aiming at the bullseye, knowing we're never going to hit that target spot on, but we're going to keep trying to get there. And I think that is something very central to the program. So more so, we need to keep those things that allow us, the dials that we can change, that allow us to continually optimize our fitness outcome. And I think for me, that's what's most important, and why I get a little weary when we start saying like, well, if you do this workout, you're not doing CrossFit. Especially if you go back and you look at the evolution of the program and what was put on CrossFit.com, like we've been learning for a long time. And affiliates are still going to keep learning for a long time, because even applying it in a 1-hour class setting is different than someone who might have, 20 minutes daily in their gym to do it. So yeah, when I think about dogma, I think that's, I shouldn't say fear, but that's what I would like to avoid, is becoming so focused on what is, this is the exact right application, but I don't care about outcome. We have to keep an eye on outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, you did say that. You made a great point there. I think that's where, yeah, it's a weird thing. When did the subject matter experts phase out, kind of? Yeah, and I don't mean like any particular one or like a wave of them. I just mean I haven't seen videos, heard things in quite some time like that.
It was a couple of years ago that we stopped running. I think at the time we called them CrossFit specialty courses. That we sort of,
right.
The Bergners of the world, aerobic capacity, the gymnastic course kind of went off and wholly did their own thing. And I always found this really funny in CrossFit. I'd see, maybe strongman or strongman coaches or running coaches or whoever, you name it, and gymnastic coaches just, on the internet taking big dumps on CrossFit, which is fine. Have an opinion. I don't care. But what in my head, I was always like, dude, you as a gymnastics coach, if you strolled into a gym with like a can-do attitude, and like they will be so happy to have you there. That's what I always thought was so interesting, is there were these people who were like, hey man, you have a like weightlifting would not be as popular as it is now. Maybe the Instagram would have helped it, but it would not be as popular as it is now if not for CrossFit. The fact that you had, stay-at-home parents concerned about what they could clean and jerk was almost wholly attributed to CrossFit. And we could say this for other, training, fitness endeavors as well, I think. And maybe that's a little arrogant to say, but I believe it from my experience. And so, when I think about the specialists, and, they are part and parcel of what we do. And if you are one of those people, like, reach out to a CrossFit gym. You have members there who will want to learn from you. And because we want to dabble in that stuff and become generalists and add that to our program. So I'm not saying anything terribly new here, but it is good to get these reminders once in a while, I think. So,
yeah, I guess one possible fault is that not you, but CrossFit becomes so eager to engage outside modalities that we accidentally welcome in a modality that's fundamentally antithetical to CrossFit. So here's maybe a sample.
Yeah, give me an example.
The Zone 2 craze. I don't believe this, by the way, but let's just say the Zone 2 craze. That feels like maybe something inherently Zone 2 is not relative high intensity. Kind of objectively, like maybe on a day, if you've done like 3 really hard days in a row, then your fourth day might be a Zone 2. That might be the appropriate relative high intensity, but that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
So in what sense is adopting or embracing some elements of Zone 2, is it forsaking a fundamental tenet of CrossFit? On the other hand, you have really early .com workouts prescribing things that look a little bit like Zone 2 between heavy bench press, weighted pull up, something like that. Yeah, that'd be kind of one example.
Yeah, I think for us, there's 2 things that I would think about is, does it become the staple of your program? And 2, again, what is the goal in executing the task? CrossFit is so task oriented. It's completing the task at hand. Now, if I program something, let's say I go program like a really long single modality effort, like a long run. And CrossFit, our goal is to complete that with as much intensity, maintain highest average power output as possible. If it's a time domain, typically the goal is to complete it as quickly as possible. Now, if in order for me to complete that thing as quickly as possible, I end up staying in Zone 2 throughout the entire time, yes, I am doing Zone 2 training, but the goal of CrossFit isn't to go do the Zone 2 training. It might happen as a consequence of the effort at hand, but the goal of CrossFit is not to go do the Zone 2 training. And I think that's a huge...
Uh-oh. Can't hear you.
My back?
There we go. That point hit too hard, dude. Mike couldn't take it.
I can't hear you. I broke everything.
Do you have me? Hello? Nothing?
Give me 1 second.
We hear you.
Oh, you can hear me, though. Good. Oh, and hold on. Now I can hear you.
Cool. We just lost you for a second.
So for me, like, that's kind of how I think about the Zone 2 thing. And then the other half of that, and we've talked about this in our programming for years, is the biasing piece. Like, if you're sustaining all of your training by going out and doing Zone 2 training, no, you're probably not doing CrossFit. But might you hit some workouts in CrossFit that put you into Zone 2? Sure. And it's like, might that help round out your fitness? Yeah, absolutely. But the goal for us isn't to go out and do Zone 2. It's to complete whatever the task is at hand. And there are certain tasks that probably, there are tasks that put you into that Zone 2 more than others, like Fran's not going to do it. So that's kind of how I think about that. And I will say, like, the longer I've done CrossFit, I go through like these highs and lows of like really like being wonkish about it, like really nerding out on it. there are times where I'm like, oh, am I doing the right program? Am I doing the right stuff? And it's like, well, you know what, James, you just really suck at ring dips. So what are we going to do? A lot of things over the next couple months that look like ring dips. And I do think there is one of the things I've always liked about CrossFit is there is this simplicity, and you look at this, great, difficulty defines need. Do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always admired about it. And I think that is simultaneously alluring to a lot of people who just get into it, but also in the fitness space, that has always been something that's off-putting, because I think there's been like a long-term desire in the fitness space to have some like over-explained level of expertise that is needed in order to get value out of some fitness practice. And CrossFit can have that, but for the most part, it's a learn by doing practice. It's a learn by doing methodology. So I don't know if that answers your zone 2 question, but that is how I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then when I go back to Greg's, world-class fitness in 100 words, and like I said, I love CrossFit classes, but I do think every once in a while you should step outside that, like, the learn and play new sports stuff. I think if you have been doing CrossFit for a really long time and you've never run a half marathon or something like that, or done some long effort or competed in a powerlifting competition, I think you might find a lot of value in it. I'm not saying go whole hog bias into it, but see what it's like. See how the CrossFit you've been doing applies or supports you in that endeavor. It will not support you optimally. We've said that for years, like we've given that up, and but it'll probably support you pretty well. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And it's an easy thing to forget.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask, do you think it's necessary for people to have side quests, so to speak? And you kind of answered that. I was thinking about that. I hadn't remembered this until a couple hours ago. Like, oh yeah, I remember that one time when Hobart was posting a lot of bike erg stuff, because he was about to do some sort of bike race. Where are you at on your personal side quest journey?
Yeah.
What are some in the past that stick out, or are you prepping for one right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've been joking recently that like endurance sports are where like all washed up CrossFit athletes go. Yeah. So I was training for the Leadville 100, which is a mountain bike race out here in Colorado, and I still did a lot of CrossFit throughout that process. But in a lot of the bike time I did was mostly just to get my body conditioned to like being in that position. I wasn't trying to like win a race or set a record. I was trying to get through it healthy and feel confident. It was interesting to me, like what got way worse throughout that process. And I would say that I biked a moderate amount. Like I did a moderate amount of biasing throughout that. I still did a lot of CrossFit. It was interesting to me to like how weak my legs got. Not weak.
Oh, wow.
They just were tired all the time. And yeah, they were weak. They were like 1 rep max stuff was like severely hurting. But yeah, so there's just one little question. Someone said, let's see, Thomas Stroud said, but let's say 3 days on, 1 day off, and on that day off, doing a zone 2 workout still falls in line, right? ? Genuinely curious to those thoughts. About this one, what I would say is if you're going to do something like that on your day off, I think if it starts to interfere with your ability to apply intensity or your ability to apply the variance of the program on the days on, we're like starting to dip into risky waters there. I don't think it's the end of the world, but again, it's like I wouldn't want it to sustain the training. I wouldn't want it to take away from the rest of the CrossFit training.
Mm-hmm.
So other endeavors. I have some other endurance events that I want to do. I'm toying with some other competitive CrossFit thoughts right now, but most of the time I just like show up. I coach at CrossFit Mafia out here in Erie, Colorado. I coach Tuesday and Thursday mornings. I coached this morning, and I just try to participate in the class programming because I've been alongside the owner, Brittany Kincaid. We've been programming for the affiliate, and so I've been trying to do the programming like crazy to just because I am programming for the gym and just to stay on top of that. So, but I've been more consistent in my CrossFits than I've been in a very long time. So that's been nice. But I have a couple little endurance efforts I have in mind, but I don't want to share them yet because sometimes I feel like if you say stuff out loud, it kind of gives you the satisfaction of having done it without actually having done it. So we'll see as we get closer to those.
is most of your training testing workouts for your gym, or do you program them without having tested them and then
There's a
raw
couple I'll
diet?
test. I feel pretty confident in my ability to put a workout on paper and be like, this is the outcome, especially because I've been coaching this group. I coach the 5:30, 6:30 a.m. So I have like I feel like I have a pretty good handle on like what this is going to do to them. So I follow it pretty day to day. I'll test something if I look at it and I'm like, ooh, we've never done this thing here. Like, how is this going to go? But I follow it pretty day to day just so I can really be tuned into like how they're feeling. And I still also like to take class when I can. So like last night's workout, we did like kind of an oddball workout. We did an AMRAP 8 of rope climbs. The gym has like we have a lot of ropes, really nice high ceilings. And so we did an AMRAP 8 of rope climbs and then some strict pull-up work after. And I kind of we have not done a workout like that. And so I went in and took class and did it. And it was right. I thought it was going to be a mess, but it was right. And watching how the coaches scaled it and how people did it. So that's sort of why I run that programming and do that like in that way. But yeah, I don't test out a ton of workouts, but once in a while when there's something really oddball or just maybe a movement combo I haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thomas, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Thomas.
Head out and coach. Good
Heck
work.
yeah. Have a great class. Looking at more of the comments. Side quest or side piece to see it. Yeah, 5 a.m. squat club. It was a sick pump. And I did put that in the notes. I said, I want you guys to walk out of here like you feel like your shirts are too small for you. I do still work at CrossFit HQ GP. My role has changed over the years, but they cannot get rid of me. So I'm still there.
Indestructible. What I was thinking, well, I am going to pull up the 5 rounds wall ball deadlift workout in a second.
Oh yeah, do it.
But I was thinking, is it fair to say that Rich impacted the way you think about competitive training more than, let's say, is he in the top 3 of people who impacted the way you think about competitive training?
Yeah, for sure.
Like
I mean,
training
I'll tell you,
for CrossFit comp.
And I can, I will say this, like, I think sometimes, Rich has a level of nonchalance about him with training that makes it seem like he just sort of tripped into his fitness and his history of fitness and his competitive dominance. That is not the case. Like, he definitely understands a lot more about that than it might seem like he lets on. He definitely talks about it more now. Back then when we were competing, this was almost 10 years ago, I think he was a little bit more tight-lipped about it for whatever reason. Maybe he was still kind of formulating everything that was going on, but you're not that successful. Any of these athletes, you're not that regularly successful unless you really understand, like, what is the recipe of workouts and training that works best for me. And that's why you see too, which I think is so interesting. Like, you see the, dominance of certain athletes, then you go like, oh, let's see what they're doing for training. And they're doing, like, I bet there are similarities, but I bet there are a lot of differences between what they do in their training because they have different weaknesses and strengths and ultimately different schedules and stuff like that. So some of the comments are funny.
If
But
James
I'll tell you,
gets fired, we riot.
It's funny. The best thing I learned from Rich, which I don't think necessarily has to do with competing, was like, if you work out, at least you did something. And it was really just this attitude of like, I don't know. It's kind of like this, what's the next best right thing? That was another lesson I would go on to learn from someone else, in my competitive fitness endeavors, Brian Chantosh, like, just do the next best right thing. And, I think that attitude Rich would say is like, at least we did something. You'd go out and just work out, whatever it was, at least you did something. I thought that was a really cool attitude. That stuck with me a long time. That's probably helped me more in my post-competitive career than it did competitive career. But yeah, and maybe that doesn't really answer your question. So it wasn't really competing related, but it was related to like this mindset of like, just do like the next thing that's good for you, which I think is really beneficial and helpful. So
do you remember a workout where that was the debrief? Like, I didn't really hit, but at least we did something.
I just remember, this was in 2014 and both of us really sucked at that 333s events, kind of for different reasons. It was a 3K row, 300 double under, and then 3 mile run. And there was just like one night I don't think we had trained that day or something like that. And we like went out and did like rounds of that, but just like smaller chunks. Like maybe it was like 50 double unders, 500-meter row and then like half a mile or something. And it was sort of, I think that is when we were kind of talking about like, at least we did something. Like we had a day where we were just focused on other stuff and it got in the way. And you did, like, it was not pleasant doing it. It was late at night. Neither of us wanted to work out, but it was like, we got in and we're like, well, at least we did something. And that stayed with me for a really, really long time. And I think that's like a good, healthy mindset for long-term application of CrossFit. And this is why I get a little bit worried about when people are like, well, if you don't do it exactly like this, you're not doing CrossFit. And there's a lot. I mean, this is the genius is Greg gave us like a lot of space in between some boundaries, but in those boundaries, man, you can go really wild and still hit the application of the program and reap the results of it. And, so, it's like when people are getting into this or trying to figure out, how do I do CrossFit? I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm not sure what to do today. I'm having a terrible day. How do I still go in and do a CrossFit workout? Hey, if it looks like functional movements, if it looks like relative high intensity, if it's different than what you did the other day, go do it. And at least you did something. And so, like I said, I think for me in the long-term application of the program, that has helped, that mindset has helped more than anything, because one of the downsides of getting solely focused on like physical dominance or competitive dominance is you walk away from workouts and you're like, well, that wasn't the perfect workout. Or if I'm not going to train to the utmost, why train at all? And you want to, you want to avoid those mindsets, because it is the collection of the consistency that really matters over the long term. So,
Jan Clark, rumor is that James is a vampire. That's why he hasn't aged since 2009.
Yeah.
I think I attract like vampire comments on this show because there have been other times people have called me a vampire. I did a show on the movie Nosferatu, which is essentially about a vampire.
The remake or the original?
Yeah, the 2024 Lily Rose Depp version.
Yeah,
really good one.
I always identified more with the werewolves, but I'll take it and I appreciate it.
When you guys would have that debrief, was it like was he imparting wisdom to you, or were you guys like kind of unearthing it at the same time? Like you were both feeling like, do you know what I mean? Like, was it a side-by-side collaborative thing, or was that like let me teach you something, James?
I just think it was, it was probably, I would like to think it's a little bit of both. I just think, at that time, that whole team down at Mayhem, like we just spent such an inordinate amount of time together. Some of the stuff we were screwing up together. Some of the stuff we were like, hey, do it this way. Here's a good piece of information. Some of the stuff was like, hey, let me share this good piece of information with you. There was a lot of that. And, the other thing that was interesting about this is, because I think Rich was, all of a sudden kind of like burst out and was so fit, everybody else down there like had really interesting insight to fitness. I mean, his cousin Darren, I think, is like one of the most interesting people to talk to just about like fitness and life approach and coaching in general. And everyone in that who kind of fell into that ecosystem, I think up-leveled a lot, whether that was because of, Rich passing on what he'd learned, or just the fact that like everyone down there was so competitive without really saying it. It was a really good environment for it. And it didn't even matter. I remember one of my probably my favorite training memories, and I still love this today. Like we have Gordon Lake, who's one of the affiliate reps. He just opened a new gym, and I was looking at his Instagram. I think it's called Simpsonville Fitness or CrossFit. But anyway, he's just opened this beautiful facility, and it's like the colors all match, and it's huge. I think got like 50 different C2 machines. And I was like, man, that is so cool. And I love that. I love seeing gyms like that. But I love when you're in a garage and you have 5 people in there and you're just trying to figure it out, and there's barely any space. And we used to have like moments like that in Rich's garage, and he kind of had like this after school group. And, there was somebody who is, a principal at a local school and a teacher at a local school and a friend of a friend, and just different ages and different fitness levels. And we were all just trying to make it work because we were just crammed into this garage, doing the same workout, going in heats. And, that environment I think is so special. And that environment is conducive to like what we're talking about here, it's just kind of like distilling some of like the best life lessons and pieces of insight to your fitness. Because you have a lot of people who are interested in it, but also they care about you getting better and you care about them getting better. So there was just a lot of that for a long time. I don't think it was more of like this, like, you know, you think about like the old Chinese Kung Fu movies, you know, you have like the Sifu masters twirling his long beard and you're going to them for information. It was a very like collaborative effort, which I think all good CrossFit affiliates engender that kind of community or environment.
Was that after school group? Like, was it like a small members class, or was it kind of just like a club?
No, this was just like in the garage. These were just like close friends, buddies.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was great. Much smaller space than what you see now on the Mayhem Empire. And so I still love it. Like if I get a chance to like work out in a garage and it's crowded and you just like, it's just not perfect. It is like far and away my favorite. Like if we're working out in a gym together, I will come be as close to you as possible. You know, it's like, there's just something about that I really like that about CrossFit. I have no understanding of personal space in the gym. I love the chaos. It's like, I work out all the time with my two dogs and I love when, you know, there's one, I'll start doing box jumps. He always jumps on the box. And I like love the chaos of that and just all that kind of stuff. So someone out there was like, it's not safe. You're probably right. There's just something about that, like haphazardness of it that I don't know. I love so much.
So earlier this week, James and I were texting about this workout that he and Rich did.
Oh yeah. 5
rounds for time. Is it playing?
Oh yeah, it's playing. It just has like this moody intro. Maybe it's like a little little choppy, but I think the right stuff's happening.
5 rounds for time, 20 wall ball shots, 10 deadlifts at 225, 155. And I programmed it for my gym for Tuesday. And we were texting about it a little bit. And you responded, nostalgia, sun chips and paint, or
paint chips in the eyes, because that was an 11 or just over a 10-foot target to the top of the roll-up door right there. Man, I look ripped though. Nice.
You look great.
I don't think I'm squatting below parallel. Fuck.
What?
It's damn close. I love it.
I don't know. That was on an upward slant though, right? Like your toes were a little elevated.
Oh, they might have been. They might have been, man. That was also one of the fun things about that group. There was just constant chirping, not getting below parallel, not doing this, not doing that, do more of these, too slow. It's cool. Yeah, this was a rough workout. And there was some element of we did.
Brad's trying to sound cool by bragging about texting with Hobart. My wife and I were trying to watch a show, and she's like, "You're not gonna be able to watch this because you're texting your girlfriend." And I was like, "It's true." I'm like giggling, texting James. So yes, I am trying to brag. Also, question, Devesh, when Sevan says your name, he never pronounces the J at the end. Did you say something? Did you instruct him that way one time? Is it Mahara, or is there the J? Instruct me. Sorry, James. What were you saying?
No, it's okay. Now I'm curious. I'm in on it. Yeah, Jeff, that could have been a no rep. It happens. You know, I had a funny chat with somebody the other day. I was like, I wonder how many, if you assume a no rep, make sure, even if you do the movements as written on the board, RX'd with the weight and the range. I was like, if you get a no rep, is it still an RX'd workout? And I was like, man, I wonder how many workouts in all of our lives that we thought we did RX, which was not an RX workout, because we got so many no reps or got one no rep. Anyway, just nerdy CrossFit stuff. So,
if you were to, this is a loaded question. If you were to substitute a dumbbell deadlift for the barbell deadlift in this,
yeah,
and you wanted it to be like as equal as possible, what would the weight of the dumbbells be?
Well, I would say more so than the weight, you touch all the heads of the dumbbell to the floor.
Both heads.
Yeah, because it's like there's an awkwardness to the really large dumbbells, but I think if you did like 270s and you touch all 4 heads to the floor, I think that would be a nasty little stimulus.
Okay.
Because you get that little extra range of motion.
Man, I'm distressed now. So I had never done this workout with a barbell. I'd done it one time with 2 80-pound dumbbells 6 years ago. I was like,
2 80-pound dumbbells?
Yeah, that's what my notes say. Now I'm doubting everything. I'm like, was I lying? What's happening? And I beat my score that I got on Tuesday by like 15 seconds. And I just found that note today, and I was really disappointed.
Why
I was
were you
like,
disappointed?
because it made me think I should have done it. I should have done something different on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like
You
I'm
should.
bummed that 6 years. I feel much fitter now. How did I not show out
Well, you just got to retest it.
on the same workout? I know. Do you think the dumbbells affected that much? Like it is a different implement.
Well, that was like, there was a workout I did recently. I retested. I feel like my push-ups are better now in cross. Oh, I retested an old open workout, and I beat my old score. And it was like one of those old ones that had push-ups in it. And I was like really proud of it because I feel like, like 2011 open push-ups were like not push-ups. You know what I mean? You're doing like little, like one of those things right there.
The hips are low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Dick in the dirt kind of push up. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I do feel like it's like you should like just rely on like, okay, I was 15 seconds faster. You should, now that you know that, you should retest this thing in like a month. My point is like,
oh man, it's a nightmare.
You kind of got to just trust that you did it right. You hit all the range of motion. But there is also this part of me that is like, I've had some times historically where I've been like, was I doing it right? Did I miss around? Maybe I was, because that was like I was competing and training a bunch. But
right.
Yeah, there are like some very early CrossFit workouts I remember. And I'm like I remember doing Grace really early on, like landing starfish legs, probably doing like, one of those lockouts. And I was like, looking at my time, and I was like, I don't know if I actually got that time. Because you're just kind of figuring it out. I mean, luckily there's more information out there now to like figure it out. There's more affiliates, all that stuff. But yeah, you should retest it. I'm not saying you did shitty range of motion with dumbbells, but you should retest it, and you got to send it.
I definitely did the one head touch, and the wall ball shots might not have been 10 feet. I was in a Globo gym. So yeah. How do you keep notes of your workouts?
Well, I used to, I've been, now we use, at our gym, we use, we're not sponsored, push press.
Oh yeah. Same.
And so now I log it into push press, but forever, I just kept it in Apple Notes. Like I have a solid, but I stopped for a long time, but I have like a solid run from like 2012 to probably 2017 of like every single workout I ever did in there. And then since like that 8 years ago, it's sort of been like hit or miss. Some years like more attention to it than others. But yeah, that's how I did it.
Would you like type it in every time, or like if you had it written up on the whiteboard, or you're just like, shit,
no, I typed it in every time.
Dang.
Yeah, because I used to do this thing because I was like, I would do like a double asterisk on it if I tracked like a benchmark or a PR or hit a PR, so that way I could just search the double asterisk and then see like all the benchmarks and PRs that I've done or hit in like the last X amount of days or something like that, or X months.
Oh, that's cool. Well, James, thank you so much for coming on.
I feel like I didn't answer a single question you asked. Like it's already been an hour.
Appreciate it. What
was that you just skipped?
Yeah, I don't feel that way at all.
Oh, good.
Oh, sorry. It's it's kind of just a wandering river. I think the show. Usually I come in, the premise is I come in with something you've said on this podcast, and we talk about it, and I always try to make it like 10 to 15 minutes, and it always ends up being 30. This one was a little more like, let's just.
Yeah, I feel like you were good at referencing stuff I've said. Let's just checking the comments.
It was, I guess, in the CrossFit podcast was the recent one. And we'll see if Chris Cooper comes on and just dunks on you and contradicts everything you said.
Yeah, he might. That's the thing. It's like I can take that. I don't know. Chris has done a lot in the space, and is looked at very fondly by affiliates I've talked to who work with him and his team. So, I think that's kind of one of the cool things about CrossFit is like there are some core tenets to what we do. There could be a lot of different ways to apply this and bring it to life. So, I think that is something that we shouldn't forget, but we do need to be outcome based in terms of like is what we're doing in affiliates, getting people fitter, keeping them safe. So like not injuring them and helping them have some fun while they do it. Yeah, that's probably where we'll end right there. I think that's like a really important thing for all of us to remember. But yeah, thanks, Angela.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Also, Sevon always says my name wrong. Says Devesh.
Damn.
Wait.
Maharaj means Raj means king. I thought. Yeah.
There we go. It's a J sound, like
Maharaja,
Indian king. There we go. Mystery solved.
Nice. Learned something today. Did something nice. It's a good day.
It's a good day. I'll be back on Tuesday with Chris Cooper. Shows happening all the time. Just come back later. There's going to be another show. Thanks, everybody. Peace.